Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to look at EC2 instance creation. But before that, I want to give you some introduction to it. So we might be on the EC2 creation screen, but I would be telling a lot of information about it. Now, here we are on the WebLogic. So we are planning to install a WebLogic on a EC2 machine rather than the free Linux server. A free Linux server is where you have an alternative in which you can install WebLogic after downloading it from the WebLogic website. You can actually get that installed on your laptop within a virtual machine using VMware. You can have CentOS or Ubuntu, whatever the operating system of your liking, and you can have that installed on your system. Now, alternative method is this one, what we're going to see, where we're going to install WebLogic on an EC2 machine. Now, do remember that there are two ways of installing WebLogic on an EC2 machine. You can actually install a licensed version of WebLogic, which is provided by Oracle, or a third-party support provider who provides support and pays the licensing fees directly to Oracle. So that is one way of doing it. Second is bring your own license, or if you want to use a trial version or something like that, you can actually create a blank EC2 virtual server which has an operating system installed on it, and you can actually do the proceedings like that. So I'm going to give you these two methods before we go ahead and look at EC2 instance. Now we have prepared ourselves. We have created an account. We have created an alert. We have created users as optional stuff. But we have done all those things and we are ready to go ahead. There are a few concepts which I'll discuss while going forward with this. So just click on EC2. Now, if you're not having EC2 over there, so you can just type in the search bar as EC2. You can also bookmark it like this. You can just press the start button and it will have that loaded on your top bar. So now this is one easy way of accessing EC2. EC2 starts with what's the name, what's the acronym for EC2 is. It's Elastic Cloud Compute. So it's just like you have Elastic Cloud Compute. There are two C's involved here. That's why they call it EC2, so that it's easy for you to understand. Alternative name can be ECC because it's Elastic Cloud Compute. So rather than calling it ECC, they call it EC2. So that's the first thing I want to explain it to you. And the next one is the dashboard. So there is a new dashboard called Global View Dashboard, and there's just the dashboard over here. Now, dashboard tells you about the instances which you have running, the elastic IP address which you have load balancers, snapshots, volumes, placement groups, instances, auto scaling. It's all part of your EC2 service. So now EC2 is it's a infrastructure as a service wherein the infrastructure is provided by Amazon, and you guys have to have the software installed on top of it, and the connectivities to the other softwares if it's required. So you need to establish a connectivity, and finally you will have to dump the data which the software requires and then process that data, and finally take the output in an application or in a browser. So this is basically an infrastructure as a service. Now if you go to Lambda, if you go to Amazon EKS, which is Kubernetes related services, so that would be more or less like a software as a service. So likewise, in the complete AWS training program, we will be looking the difference between infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and how AWS utilizes the power of its own hardware and software, gives you the actual output. So any which ways, so in this particular program, we will be looking at infrastructure as a service, and which means that we will be exploring EC2 only available at this moment for this training. So you have there is nothing running over here as instances, and there's nothing much over here. The one thing which we will be doing is the key pair, so which I'll tell you when we come there. All right, so now that's the dashboard over here. Now, global view is a different standpoint. So the global view tells you across the regions. So as you know that you have the regions over here, And you can see that when you go to global view, you go to the region called global. And there's no way you can select a region here on the global view. Why? Because you're actually looking, exploring all the regions, and you kind of look at every possible region available. So you can see that you have 17 regions on the total. So that is currently enabled for you. And the security group is 20 and 17 likewise. So you can see all the enabled ones and you can see the disabled ones as well. So we'll not worry about the disabled ones. But within the each of this particular, these regions, you can see how many instances you have. If you have instances around the world, you can actually see that over here. So this helps you to understand about the complete global view, which was not there before. So that's the reason of getting this EC2 global view. So we are not worried about this at this moment because we're not going to create at this moment a multi-region servers. We're going to create single region servers, and we will have to decide that before we go ahead and click on create instance. But before we create instance, we just look at the instance first. So here in the instance, you will see all the instances which is available at this region, and that's right. As of now, you don't see any regions available. All right, so it's time for us to launch an instance. But before we launch an instance, you need to understand what are regions. Regions are basically where your server or virtual server is going to be hosted. Now, it is always recommended that you should host a service where you have the customer base. And why is that? Because like if a customer is accessing your website or your application from let's just say, for example, US, then you have to host your server in the US region, because that's where they are actually looking out for. And also the latency is going to be much less if you're going to do that, and you're going to save a lot of money on latency and network traffic and other stuff. Now, to do that, all you have to do is like change the region by clicking this to any other region and then create a launch instance. Now, you cannot do it after you click on launch instance. This is the default method of launching an instance called on-demand instance. On-demand instance is one of the easiest, and you don't really have to reserve your instance, or you don't have to put your instance on spot likewise. So it is one of the easiest available methods in EC2 instances. That's the on-demand one, and it doesn't say on-demand; it just say instance. So that's basically an on-demand instance. Now, let's just say, for example, you as a person is working from Mumbai, and you don't have any customers. You're just using it for practical purposes, or you're working from any part of India, and you are you want to have a server close to you. So this is a very logical reason that you would choose Mumbai region in that scenario. And you can see that everything gets reloaded here, because it will just reinitiate itself and it will switch to Mumbai region. Now, do remember that when you switch like this, you're going to launch instance. So you're going to launch instance in Mumbai region. But there are other items over here, which is about creating instances in different ways. Now we are creating on demand, right? So likewise, you have spot instance, you have savings plan. In these options, you will have an option of selecting where your instance should spin off from. So don't worry about this. We will go in depth in the actual AWS training, which is not even launched right now. So currently, what you can do over here is like when you click on launch instance, then you can be sure that this instance will be running from Mumbai data center of AWS. So now, one advantage we have seen is that when you run it closer to you, you will have less latency. But when you run the server from North Virginia, then you're going to see a latency when you're connecting your MobaXterm or any of your PuTTY provider to your North Virginia data center. And when you type in, you will actually feel the latency, because it's just like too many hops away from your network. So that's one reason. Okay. Now, the bad side of, or the negative side of this is about the pricing. Now, each region comes with a LAN cost renting cost and the area cost, right? So North Virginia has six availability zones, whereas Mumbai has just three availability zones. And Mumbai, if you just think about renting and stuff, it's much higher than North Virginia. So of course, then what's going to happen is like you're going to pay a little extra for Mumbai when compared with North Virginia. Now, how do I do that? So you just go to Google and type in like something called a price calculator, and then you get this AWS price calculator here. Now, when I choose this region as North Virginia and I choose an instance, let's just say, for example, I'm choosing I'm just choosing instance called R5. So just using R5X large. So if I choose this particular instance, you can see that I actually on demand with a 24 hours usage, like working, this instance will be working for 24 hours a day. You can see instance per hour charge is 0.25. But when I change this to a place which is highly populated and the rent is too much, like Mumbai, you can see that it was 2.5 before, it's 2.6 now. And when I choose even more expensive place, like for example, I choose London over here, now you can see that the 2.6 becomes 2.9. So this is the thing. So the regions will make a big impact on your budget because this is just for 24 hours and monthly charges, and this yearly charges could be a little bit high as well. So likewise, if you go for a region which has a lot of space and it has plenty of availability zones like North Virginia, you will end up paying less. But then the fact is that you will have latency issues. Sometimes money doesn't matter more than network or latency. So you have to come over here and understand which region is something which is going to be important for you to host your AWS service, and which type of instance. I'll tell you in the next video how to decide the type of instance, and then basically go about the on-demand price. Now there are other options like savings plan, spot instance, and then you have something called a capacity plan, something like that, which you see capacity reservation, dedicated host, and all. Dedicated host is definitely going to be expensive, so is capacity reservation and reserved instance. But the one which is going to be very cheap for you is going to be a savings plan and spot instance. So we will discuss about this in detail in the AWS Complete program when it comes out. So it should be releasing soon. I'm preparing for that. So, but you can see the overall, like you will get like good amount of discounted over here, but it has drawbacks. Okay, it has drawbacks. It's not like it doesn't have. There's a reason why it is so cheap, right? So you can see 183 and this is just 79 per month. So there is a reason for it to be so cheap, but on a long term, it's going to be helpful for you. So any which ways, this is a useful tool, and in the next video, we will click on this launch instance and we will go about launching a WebLogic instance. Thank you again for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.